I'm your host, J.J. Silvers, and this is the Where We End Up podcast. Today we are joined by Noel and Joy from True Love Crystal. Say hello.
Hello. Hi.
That was Noel and then Joy, if you were listening to the audio portion of this. So basically, Noel and I have known each other for quite a while. I don't remember the exact origin story. She was a customer to start with, and I want her to kind of just give a breakdown of our dynamic, where we came from the beginning part, and then we'll have Joy jump in after that to give her side of that.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had a different social media account prior to True Love Crystals where I was just kind of testing the waters, and I have a background in photography, so I really love to take pictures of crystals, and I just found you on, I don't know what Instagram called it at the time, but they like Explore page, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it's like the For You page on TikTok, but before that was a thing. I think it was Explore.
Yeah, like the Explore page. I saw one of your shelves. I started following you. And at that point, I don't even think you were on, I don't know if you had Etsy or not, but you were definitely auctioning the shelves on your Instagram.
I had an Etsy, but it wasn't my primary. I was just making really bespoke, like, unique stuff and putting one at a time at auction like that.
Yeah. So I got my favorite shelf from you. It's very special because I know it's special to you, too. It's the Ambrosia triangle shelf, and I was really excited when I won it.
I was really happy you got that because I wanted to keep that one. I know I've told you that before, but
yeah.
I wanted to keep it because it had so much detail, and the patterns in it are just crazy. So I'm happy that you have that because I wanted that.
I will forever keep it and hold it close.
So that's generational. One of the children is getting that one. So.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Awesome.
Well, all my shelves really, because they're all special, but that one definitely.
Right. And then so we have connected through, we became friends when you were still a customer before you had joined, because we actually communicated. We talked to each other through DM, and I don't remember, somebody Facebook friended somebody at some point, and, whatever. So that was the very early stages. That was when it was probably less than 10,000 followers.
I actually was telling Joy that I think you had under 10,000 followers when I first started following you, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time. It was like probably 2013, 14, something like that. Like that was when I was just getting off the ground. So you're like from the beginning of like that whole concept period.
Yeah, I got to watch your whole business blossom and explode. It was great.
Oh, yeah. It was such a different time. But so then you did, so when the True Love Crystals whole concept on your side started, you didn't like tell me. You didn't. It's like you wanted that to be your thing. Like,
yeah, I don't know if I was nervous about how it was going to go and kind of putting myself out there in that way. So like with my other account, I don't know if you remember it, but it was House of Sutton, and I sort of just started posting more about crystals and their metaphysical properties, and then I was like, oh, like this is just me talking like normal, so it's, why am I scared? And
it's comfortable.
It was comfortable for me, and I had I think I had only one child when I first started, but the name True Love Crystals is actually my children's middle names combined.
So, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so my daughter's name is Brooklyn Love, and my son's name is Braden True. And I think I was pregnant with him when I decided I was going to just go for it and do. Oh, sorry, I don't know if that made it sound.
Yeah.
And named it True Love Crystals. And my husband went and bought the domain name, and we made sure it was all legit and everything. And I had the Instagram account, but I was like just slowly dipping my toe in, and then once I started really like posting some things, I think at that point I let you know, hey, it's me.
Yeah.
And like I got some advice from you about how to start an Etsy at that point, and then didn't stay on Etsy for very long.
No, I remember that period. I remember seeing likes from True Love Crystals, and I was kind of putting it together, and I was like, this has to be somebody I know, but you weren't out front with it. You weren't like, because that's what's so interesting to me is that like, if you have resources, if you have people that you think could possibly help push you out, like I'm not a big deal. I was never, especially in that era, I wasn't like anything known for anything specific to like the group that I am now, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's not a cocky thing. That's just like the difference in the times. But it seems like if you have connections, most people try to immediately jump into it. Like I've had so many people that I don't know, and I knew you,
They're
but
like, will you help me?
yeah, will you help me? Not even like just you're like, oh yeah, I bought something from you 3 years ago or whatever. Will you promote my business? And I'm like, I don't even know anything about you.
Yeah.
But that's the difference is I knew you, but you still didn't want to take that step until you're a little deeper in.
Yeah, and I also felt like you were a genuine like friend to me,
Right.
and I don't it that just comes organically. Like if you chose to share something of ours, which you have many times, I was super thankful for that, but I would never be like, Drew, we really need, your help. Can you send, like I just didn't feel right about that.
Yeah.
And I felt that way about because I have a few other friends or other crystal shops, other jewelry makers who had pretty large followings at the time. And I don't know, I felt like letting it organically grow was a better option than trying to get help with it.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. It takes a lot for me to ask something of someone. Like I want my ducks to be in a row. I want everything to be as 100% like on level as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's like anything else. Like a lot of people talk, a lot of people say things and they're like, I'm going to do this. Will you help me? It's like, yeah, let's do it. And then 6 months go by and nothing happens.
Right.
So that's where I sit with that kind of stuff. Like I want to be fully enthralled, committed, probably wasted a lot of money on it or whatever, before I.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it, excuse me, I think that you guys make it look easy.
Oh.
I think that happens too a lot of times when people come that may not know us very well and they want tips or encouragement or whatever, promotion. It's because we make it look easy when really it's so much hard work.
Yeah.
And we understand that and they don't. I think that might be an issue as well.
Yeah. See, this is a good segue. Now, where did Joy come into the mix? At what point did that happen? Because I don't even know. I didn't ask you because I didn't want to know. Like, all I know is that she showed up one day and I don't know why or how or what the reason was. I just know that.
Probably always there, but then you noticed one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, originally I was working full-time as a licensed esthetician. I owned my own business. I worked for myself at that point too, so I've kind of always been an entrepreneur in that way. Same for Joy. And we both, growing up, loved crystals. Our sort of origin story we tell a lot to our customers is that our mom used to hang crystals in the windows. Like faceted quartz crystals, and I have very like old memories of loving the rainbows it would cast around the room and just being really enthralled by the crystals. And I know Joy and I are collectors of things, so rocks, shells, crystals, whatever.
Everything. We like to collect
Little things. So anyway, I had, she always knew about True Love crystals, but I had to really ease into it because I was pregnant. I had a full-time job. I had a 6-year-old. I couldn't just go full force. So I just sprinkled some things on Etsy, dipped my toe into the live sales. I was only doing about one live sale a month for the first, I would say, like year or so. And it was hard. It's hard to do it on your own. I needed help. And there were a few times where I was like, hey, maybe you could do this with me. But we were just so busy. She's got kids. We were full-time, working and everything. So probably at the very beginning of 2020, I was like, this is really successful. It's really big. We could make this. There's a lot of potential here. And we're both very creative minds and we complement each other very well. Joy brings something different to the table than I bring and vice versa. And so she started, well, let me check it out with you. Let me do a couple live sales with you. Mm-hmm. And it was so exciting and fun for her to see us sell out a table of crystals.
Yeah. And then we realized too, like in a working environment, we were just as, we clicked just as well as we do in like real life. And we just, it felt like there was, like the world was our oyster.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling that first time. Yeah.
So it was technically the beginning of 2020 when she became my like legit full-time business partner.
Wow.
So we are 50-50 in the business now. And then I actually met you in person for the first time that Tucson Gem Show of 2020.
Yeah, that's okay. So let me.
Yeah.
that was interesting to me because what was that? Was it 22nd Street?
We were at the 22nd Street.
Yeah, and I had texted you or whatever, and I was just kind of walking around and whatever else, and you're like, yeah, we're in the food court, and then this dude pushing a stroller passes me and just stops. and he looks at me and he's like pointing and he's like,
You can see Travis doing that. Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, I need to take a selfie with you because my wife will die. And I was like, you've got to be Noel's husband.
Yeah, please tell me you're Noel's husband.
So, yeah,
He knew you were around because I was like, I'm in here. I know he's around here. Like, look for him. So I think he was just trying to be like extra funny, like, hey, I know you.
yeah. So it's just so funny to me that I met your husband before I met you, or I was probably like 100 feet of you. Like we had a full blown conversation walking through a gym show.
Yeah.
And you're just like at the other end and just like had no idea at that point.
Yeah. It was, that was an interesting gym show too because it was like literally right before the shutdown.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the next thing too. Well, actually, so at what point do you still have any outside employment, or are you fully immersed in it, both of you?
No, we retired ourselves from our work as estheticians.
Oh, so Joy did that too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right around the same time that like the shutdown happened, we were working in salons because we were licensed estheticians, so we couldn't go to the salon to take care of our clients anymore.
Yeah.
So it was almost like
It was a
the
perfect
push. It really
opportunity.
was.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have taken the plunge to join Noel full time at that point, but we were kind of like, well, what do we have to lose?
Right.
We can't go to work, so let's just go hard. And I mean, I think almost immediately it went from maybe one live sell a month to one a week.
One a week. Yeah.
Immediately, and we just have kept that momentum going for almost 3 years now, right?
So it was that at that point that we went really full force with it, and then at the end of 2020, we kind of like had to slowly let our clients go. Some of our clients had been with us for over a decade, so it felt sad to like have to tell them, I'm sorry, we can't.
I still get text messages from people, hey, can you give me a facial? Can you do my eyelashes? I'm like, no, I wish I could, but
Like almost 3 years later, and they.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like in my mind, it was by December of 2020, we were like completely done with clients and full-time True Love Crystals.
That was full blown commitment at that point. That was like
Yeah. There was no going back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, I see. I didn't know that. I didn't know how. I knew at some point, like I wasn't going to ask, but I knew at some point there had to be a point, like where it stopped being like a side business. It stopped being a hobby, and then it grew into like now we're both doing it because you both like live next to each other.
We do. Yeah.
Like, is it next door or is
Literally next door to each other. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we laugh about it a lot because we spend more time with each other than we really do with anybody else, including husbands, kids, whoever. Like, it's us a lot.
Yeah.
Together a lot.
So how does in whose house does the business exist?
My house.
Joy. She has more square footage for sure.
We pretty much turned the top half of my house into our workspace.
Okay.
My oldest went to college right around the same time, so his room opened up the loft, and then we have an additional bedroom, and that's our office space.
Whether he wanted it to or not, his room became something else.
Yep, he just had to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. See Anne Marie and I don't have children, but we were talking about this the other day, like actually last night with some of our friends that we were with, and they were curious because they wanted to know about my business because I think when people see the woodworking thing and they see like the videos I show in my workshop and in my office, they think like it's some outside the home, like in some commercial building with an office space, not realizing like what we were saying last night. And I know it annoys my wife, Anne Marie, a little bit, but it is what it is. Like 60 some odd % of the house is still is still my business. It's still a big part of it because I have a shop that I actually make the stuff in by myself, but my dad shares that space. It's our communal shop space that was built specifically for him to live out his semi-retirement carpentry ambitions, taking a job here and there when he wants to. And then
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, so
I watched you guys build it. It was really cool to see that.
I did a little bit of a chronology of that on my social media, but so he comes out. He's not there every day. He lives on the property, but he's not there every day. Sometimes he's doing other stuff. Sometimes he's actually working on stuff, and sometimes he just sits in in the shop. Like he just knows I'm there.
Just hangs with you.
Yeah, just
That's
hangs.
awesome.
He doesn't even necessarily like talk, say anything. He just sits in his chair and reads his newspaper and lives out his his life over there and does
I
that
hope
kind
my
of thing.
son does that for me someday. That sounds like a good retirement
I
plan.
know.
Yeah, it's pretty nice just being able to be there. But like so that shop is like 20 minutes away from my house. All the dirty stuff that I say, that's what happens there. The dirty stuff.
The dirty stuff.
The dirty stuff.
The big construction.
The big construction. Like I'll pick up the materials and stuff, and I'll drive it out there, and then I will just unload it there, cut it up into smaller pieces, and then put it, in the lasers and the machinery. I do all the staining and the sanding, and all the dirty stuff happens at the shop. Nothing goes back into the house unless it's like ready to retail.
Like finished.
Yeah, unless I'm ready to stick it on inventory and have it sit there.
That makes sense.
But like the entire bottom floor of my house, which includes a 2-car garage, is my workspace. You go upstairs, a corner of the living room is like photograph stuff, like crystal cabinet.
It starts to just overtake. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the spare bedroom that we have upstairs, the larger, because it's only a 3-bedroom house, but the larger of the 2 spare bedrooms that's what you see on my social media, like when I do a panoramic shot and you see all of my shelves hanging on my wall. That's where the inventory goes out. So I pack orders on the top floor of the house and walk down 2 flights of stairs to get outside, which sucks.
Yeah, we've got stairs too.
Yeah.
And we know how that when we bring everything up and bring everything down.
IKEA bags work
IKEA
work
bags
great
are
for
a lifesaver.
I never would have thought about that.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, you can carry a lot in an IKEA
it
bag.
just naturally works better at my house. I'm an organizer. I'm like OCD about it. So, and I am really good at Tetrising things. And so even though our space is small, like we could definitely use more space, I think we do a really good job of keeping on top of the rotation and, the way it's organized, the way it's packed. It's something that's a priority to me, especially because it's in my house and I live with other people too, it's their house too. So, but it works. It works great. That's a big part of my job is behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the voice is Noelle still for the most part.
Oh yeah, she does a way better job.
Well, I've kind of always been in charge of the social media aspect of it and the photography and everything.
She's the logistical organization in and out person. I see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
During the live sales, during our actual sale, and like our work week is pretty much divided like that too. Like
Definitely, yeah. The live sale, I'm usually the one that's doing all the talking and showing the crystals, talking about the, interesting metaphysical properties. And
sometimes if
the
Noelle has to
locales.
leave for a minute, she'll go show a crystal and I'll go, it's pretty. Look at that shot. And it's probably like, not even in front of the camera where everyone can see. It's down
Yeah, it's
below
like
where all the
down underneath the
are.
comments, and I'm like, hold it up. But yeah,
So now we know if something's out of frame, it's Joy.
It's
me.
definitely Joy.
Absolutely. They all know anyway.
we sound very similar, but like I think they can kind of tell the difference at this point.
Yeah,
So,
there's a little distinction in there.
yeah.
So I think is there since you do have kids, is it actually said, is it implied, or or does it not matter? Do you have like, this is our workspace, the kids don't come in here?
Yeah, my kids are very respectful. My kids are teenagers. They're 15 and 17s, and Noni's kids are younger. And when they're there, they're with us. But as far as workspace / living space, my kids are very respectful. And
They'll pop in and say hi.
they help sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not as much as I want them to. But yeah.
But yeah, my kids wouldn't. My daughter is 12, and so she would be fine. But my son is 5, and he's the one that was in the stroller when you met.
Oh, okay.
When you met my husband, so
He loves crystals though.
he
Probably
does.
the most.
He
out of
loves
all of
crystals
our
the most, I
kids.
think, of all of our kids. But he is wild, so it's much better that it's at Joy's house, so he can't come in and cause a ruckus in the middle of a live sale or something. But yeah,
Okay.
We do have a lot of animals though, and
I think our cat, your cat. I said our cat. Your cat
kind of
is
our cat.
is probably more loved than we are at this point.
they're almost like mascots.
Really?
And
Everybody's like,
everybody
show
loves them.
Leo, show. show Frank. Frank's her dog. Leo is
Black lab.
yeah. Leo and Mo are the cats, and they're constantly like, show us the cats, show us the dog.
But they want to be around us, I think, and they want to be around the crystals too. So
They love the energy of that room.
when we're working, when we're having a live sale, they're always in there.
I always like to say Joy's like Snow White too. They follow
do
her
follow
around
me around.
room to room, like the animals gravitate toward
Yeah,
her.
I love animals and kids.
Yeah, I remember my wife telling me a story about going into Italy and like the feral street dogs followed her everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's her too. I always take videos or pictures of us finding the dogs in the gym shows and like petting them and
Yeah, it
stuff.
seems like I always find the dogs.
You do, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. See, that was like kind of what I was wondering because I know that Joy said her kids were older, and if it's based out of there, then that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because there's less risk involved. Because
Exactly.
you just got your like I know like New York City has or not anymore. I guess they cracked down on it. They used to have bodega cats that lived in the bodegas, that the little corner stores and stuff that kept the vermin and all the bad stuff away. So it's like you have your own version of like a metaphysical bodega cat.
Truly, I feel like if we had a warehouse
Yeah.
or a storefront or
We would-
or both, there would be cats that live there. We just had a conversation with one of our friends, one of our suppliers, randomly and she was talking about how she has 2 cats and they didn't get along, so she took one to their warehouse, and now Tiffany lives in the warehouse, and they're so much happier. And yeah, how cute is that?
So the cats got their own kingdom, kind of.
They did, yeah. It's like that worked out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Huh? That's cool.
We've always had animals, and I think we always would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like to have animals around us.
Yeah, we're dog people. That's like one of the things that you've probably noticed, but this is just a me thing. But I make cat shaped shelves, which because I think you have some.
We
of them.
love
I
them.
have them all.
I think you have them all. But then I always get the question of dog shelves. Like, should you make a dog shelf? And I always shoot it down. I'm a dog person, so I grew up on what wasn't a farm. I'm not going to call it a farm, but my grandparents that lived on property with us were their like careers, I guess you'd say, were like farmers. That's what they did. For other people, they lived on other people's properties and were, allotted, land to farm their own, and they farmed for other people, kind of like that. But so when they eventually got to the age that they retired, I lived on we had chickens and like free ranging chickens just running around on like this probably 1/4 acre tract. We had rabbits, and so we always had like cats and stuff like that. We always had barn cats because we had barns, and the barn cats keep all the stuff like away from the chicken feed and whatever else you got, the dog food. And, I never like saw a rat until I moved out of my parents' house in 2022 because we always had cats that took care of
They
that.
were just taking care.
Mousers.
Yeah. So I've always had cats. I like cats. I don't currently have cats. I don't plan to, but a lot of my design language and what I do is centered around cats. But I won't do dogs because there's a ton of different breeds of cats. There are certain shapes and sizes and they look very distinct, but there's a cat shape that's very much
Universal, yeah.
But if I make a universal generic dog shape, there is no such thing.
You know what?
That makes
it's
sense.
true. In the crystal world, we have lots of requests for dog carvings, and it's really
And
hard to
they're
find
always a
dog
little bit
carvings.
off. Like they just don't really look like a
Because
dog.
there's no universal shape.
It's either you go with wolf or you just go with not dog because nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't personally, that's the other question I get. Why don't you make stuff that's like a wolf? I don't make stuff that's like a wolf because I have friends and people that I care about that have a very strong Native American, lineage, and they take that very seriously because that's a very spiritual thing for them, and it's not for me. So I won't step into that because that's not something that I want to do.
That makes sense.
I don't want to go there. Like if I make any sort of animal of any type, it may be spiritually connected to other people and other cultures that I'm not in the same way, but I have a connection to it in some way if I make something that's shaped like an animal. But I have nothing. It's just personally, mentally, I have no connection, no desire for wolf shapes. I've never liked, that's never been an aesthetic thing for me either. But like, I make the elephant shelves, and I know that's very spiritual for a lot of people. But that's also something that was very spiritual for one of my mom's closest friends growing up, and it reminds me of her. And she passed away from COVID in 2020. So like that's why that stuff exists, because there's always, when I make stuff, it speaks to me in more than an aesthetic way.
I've always loved that about you, and I think that's why I gravitated to you on Instagram in the first place, is because I know that you create with passion and purpose, and there's stories behind what you're creating, and it's so interwoven in your family history. And one of my other favorite shelves is actually the limited moon shelf that you made with the paisley design.
Yeah.
And I know how special that was to you as well, and there's a story behind that. And so I think that's what makes people in this sort of industry, to generalize it, successful, is when they have that passion and that background and that reason why you're creating the thing you're creating.
Yeah, and then you see, it's not, and that's what's so great about what I do and what you guys do, is because there are people that, like me, like I have an entire sleeve tattoo of nothing but paisley and floral because it reminds me of my grandmother that lived next door to me, who died when I was 10, because she was super old. Like, I'm only 36, nearly 37 at this point, but my grandmother was born in 1913. So my dad was the baby of his family by a very, very long margin.
Yeah.
So my grandmother had him in 53 when she was, I think, 40. So my grandparents were really, really old growing up, but they had that old, like, farmer type vibe. So my grandmother always had a paisley bandana, either tied around her head to keep the sweat out of her eyes, or tied around her wrist, or hanging out of the pocket of her sundress, whatever. So that's that connection. And that's what I try to put in all the things that I make. And I know there are people that look at it and they think this is aesthetic and that's all that matters. Like, I don't have a spiritual, personal connection to this. I just like the way it looks. And so how does that play into the way that you guys curate what you do? Is that something like...
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, we kind of, I don't want to say theme, but like each week we have sort of a different theme to our tables. So we'll sell anywhere from 200 to 400 crystals a week. And like, we've done some really cool themes. Like, we did Gold Dust Woman, we did Purple Rain, where it was an entire purple table, all purple crystals.
I think the challenge is finding the balance, because really, like, we're artists and we're creators, and we want to have the passion behind everything, but this is our business. This is the way we make our money. So there's like a balance between finding the connection and finding the spark that makes
what
you
excites
excited.
us to do it.
Right.
And every week when we put it together, even if it's a table that we're kind of like last minute on the fly, like, ooh, what are we doing this week? We wind up like curating it, and in the end going, oh my God, it looks beautiful, and it makes so much sense for what we're talking about.
And we know everybody else is going to love it too.
Yeah.
So that's the balance. Is, there are some times that we're like, really? People want us to sell this, or we have to source this because we're not into it or whatever, but we do. We just try to put it together
bits
with
of
other
ourselves
things. Oh yeah,
in there too.
We definitely do.
And then, the collaboration shelf we did with you in 2021 was super
That was probably
sentimental
my
to us.
favorite thing we've done is release that shelf, have you design that, see it finished.
And it combined, not only basically like the dangling faceted crystal, which is literally the first crystal I ever loved, my mom's crystal, but then to be able to have our logo and to do the collaboration with you, it was
that was
so special. Yeah.
the best.
You know who that wasn't special for?
Who?
Joy's husband, because he told me that. he bought you something from my shop. I don't remember. It was like some point last year, I think. And I get a DM from an account that I don't know, and I'm like, "Who is this?" And I look at it, and the intro is like, "Hey, I'm Joy's husband," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, interesting." And he's like, "Hey, I really love the shelf I just bought her, blah 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 blah." And he had a little bit of small talk. He's like, "By the way, I absolutely love the collaboration shelf that you did with them, their logo." But he was like, "But I had to put the hooks on so many of those things, and for the love of God, I never want to see one again."
That's right.
He was in charge of that, the little jump rings that
He
we attached to
sat there
faceted crystal. He did that for us.
Yes, yes.
On all 50 of them.
Now it makes sense.
Now
why
it
he
makes
didn't. He's traumatized by it.
Because there were 36 of them.
No, there were 50.
Oh, there were 50.
Well, you kept one.
I kept one.
49. Yeah.
So, and then we sent you the tag to go on the bottom,
Right.
and the crystal, and then you put it in. But yeah, he put all the other 49.
I feel sad for him because I know what that's like. I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah.
He was joyful about it. It was just like in jest, but it was just kind of funny to hear that like he's like one step removed from everything, but he still got pulled in to do
Right.
that part.
He did.
He gets pulled in to do things like that all the time. So do the kids.
He hauls off all of our mounds of trash
Yes.
for when we get like orders and stuff like that.
All the boxes, he takes care of that for us. That's a plus about having your business at home too. 'Cause
Yeah.
they don't have the other people who live with you don't really have a choice. They have to pitch in at some point.
Yeah, exactly. That's why if you see a lot of the pictures that I take of my shelves and stuff, they're staged and it's Anne Marie holding these things and she has to hold this shelf full of crystals for like 10 minutes while I'm trying to get the shot.
She must have some guns on her.
Yeah, she can hold her own, and then she helps in that regard because it helps for scale, right? It helps to
Right.
show. It's like because you sell crystals, and I know that your live sale is like your thing, but the retail stuff that you put on the site and everything, for me, it's better to hold.
You have to have it in your hand so
Otherwise
that
they-
they understand the scale. Yeah.
Yeah,
And same
exactly.
when I'm videoing anything too. Like for instance, if I'm putting together videos of like the big crystals, at the shows or whatever, I always kind of get my hand in there at some point so that they can see, whoa, that's not just a tiny little crystal. That's like a, 6 foot tall crystal or whatever. So,
Well, you can't put your whole body there because you're kind of tiny.
that's true.
Well, that one picture of us with the big amethyst heart.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that went
out
viral
there
a couple
everywhere.
times.
It's such a good example of that because we're both in it, and you can really tell how massive that
Yeah.
thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just picked up again the other day.
it did it.
Yeah, this is like round 5 or something of it just, I mean, it's cool. Like, we like it.
It's a great, and the story behind that picture is really funny too. Because
is,
we are
yeah.
always trying to get good pictures of each other, and I'm not near as good at it as Noel is. So it's like, picture after picture after picture when we have time. And it was so random. We
don't
asked
get a lot
stranger-
together.
Yes, and we happened to walk up on that heart, and just the first guy that walked by, and it was a guy, which usually,
No offense.
No offense.
Because you're a great photographer.
and he just snapped it, and it was the first pick, first take. Random stranger took it, and it was.
We almost didn't ask him, but I was like, no, I really want us to both be in this photo because, we don't have a lot of us together, and it's perfect. It's a heart, and,
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the one that everybody seems to just pick back up year after year because it's 2 years old now because that was Tucson 2021, I believe. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's like that one's making the rounds as much as probably the other one that you've seen. It's like a girl that has glasses and like shiny
I
leather
know.
pants.
I know the exact one you're talking about.
Is she hugging a cluster?
No, it's a really tall quartz point, and it's actually still there if you want to go visit it.
Oh, well.
it's at the Pueblo gym show
Tucson.
every year in Tucson. Yeah, it's there every year at the front. I think it's so heavy they can't move it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Interesting. Yes.
anybody can go take that photo there for sure.
Well, I don't know who that girl is, but you're on
don't
her
either.
level now. That you're officially like gotten to that point. You're like a meme now.
Right?
So
There probably is a
congratulations.
meme of us somewhere. I know sometimes when I see it go viral, I'm like, do I want to read the comments? Because I'm really scared that it's going to say something mean.
I've seen a couple funny
The
ones.
only mean ones are usually, put that back in Mother Earth. Like people that are mad that huge piece of amethyst came out of the earth and they want it put back. It's not usually about us.
I like the ones that say beautiful, and then I'll comment back, us or the crystal.
You got to throw a little bit of sass into it.
Totally.
I mean, you could make it worse. You could just say like, "Oh yeah, well, we actually bought this and we're gonna send it through an oven and electroplate it,
Right.
and then see what happens."
I feel like the world's heads would explode. Everyone's head would explode. For
Yeah.
So, with your whole business dynamic and everything, I have to ask is there ever a point that you have had have you ever had a disagreement where you just had to walk away from each other for a while, or is that not a thing?
Oh, are you kidding? I mean, sisters, business partners,
Neighbors.
as we are
Neighbors, yeah.
Of course we do, but I think Noel and I try really hard to really keep it real. Like we've always been close. Our lives have always been parallel, and we're so grateful for that. We've always been that way since day one. So of course we do, but we work really hard to accept each other's differences and realize that we're two different people and we bring two different things to the table. So
And we're
that's
good
a
at
good thing.
We're good at communicating what we need.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
so it maybe if she wakes up in the morning and she might feel a little off, she'll tell me beforehand, like, hey, if I sound a little irritated, don't take it personal. I'm just having a rough morning.
Yeah, it's not you, it's whatever.
Yeah, so we're pretty good at, and then, or if somebody takes something the wrong way, you know, we'll stop them and say, hey, can you is that about me? Or can you like, you know, like
Yeah.
rephrase that a little bit and let's talk about
It's
it?
interesting because a lot of like self-help tips for couples apply to us, and we really do like get little tidbits from that, and oh my god, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to just be a romantic relationship. We're so close
Yeah.
that we need those kinds of tools.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
and we do work
do really well
hard
with that.
to do that.
She's my big sister first and foremost. We don't have a lot of family, so it's just kind of us. It's us and our kids, and that's about it. And so she takes care of me. She has since we were little.
You take care of me too.
Thank you. And yeah, I think we were reminded actually recently that the most important thing is that our relationship is good. Like, we're a family, we come first, business is 2nd. And so if we do ever have any disagreements, it doesn't last long, you know.
Okay.
We're able to work it out pretty easily.
And how many years are between you?
3.5.
3.5.
Okay, so you're close.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Joy was my little mommy. She, when I was born, literally thought that I was her baby.
Oh.
She would tell
I
our mom,
would want to hold her.
"That's my baby."
That's my baby. Yep.
and our mom passed away about 5 years ago. And that was really, really tough for both of us. So it just, if anything, it just brought us even closer. And
We know she'd be really proud of us.
yeah, she'd
yeah.
be so proud.
This was probably her dream come true, that we spend 20 hours a day with each other every day.
And selling shiny, pretty things.
Oh,
Yes, yeah.
Do you have the things that she had hanging up in your house?
I do.
You do?
I do. I have it in my bedroom window, and I share it often in my stories, like when the sun's setting behind it.
Oh, that's what that is.
That's
Yeah.
that's my mama's crystal.
That's the
yeah.
actual main crystal.
I've seen that so many times, and I guess I just didn't pay attention enough to the caption of what it said.
Yeah, that's it. That's the original one. That
She used to take us into metaphysical shops too when we were little. That was like the treat. And we, you know, I think my very first crystal that I ever bought, I collected them outside, but it was a malachite whale, a little like 1-inch malachite whale. And I mean, I thought that was, in my mind, it cost $1,000. Like, I don't know how much it cost, but it was like my favorite.
We didn't come from much. We were pretty poor growing up.
Blue collar.
Very much so. Probably below
less
that.
than
We had a pretty rough childhood, but our mom did the best she could, and yeah. So
working hard has always been important to me in Noel, because I feel like, you know, our mom worked hard and our mom wanted the best for us, and, you know,
that's always been the driving force for us, I think, is to be able to give our children, you know, the things maybe we didn't get to have when we were young. And
that drives us when we're on like hour 60 and we haven't even had our live sale yet. We're like, we can do
it.
Yeah, because there's so much more that goes into it that I think people don't necessarily realize. I was talking to another friend of mine yesterday kind of about that, because she's a maker, she's an artist, and the people think it's as easy as like, oh, you just make your thing, you take a picture or video, you throw it up on the internet and people buy it, and then that's what people try to emulate. That's what people are incorrectly inspired by, not realizing everything else that goes on behind the scenes. Like, you've got to do so much. Like, I spend, I think, as much time doing the like clerical back end stuff, like packing boxes and picking up stuff. Like, I have to go to the box supplier because I have a local, you know, packaging supplier I use, and I have to go to his place and pick up stuff, and it's only like 2 miles away from my house, luckily, but that's going to eat up another like 30-45 minutes at least of your day, just doing that kind of stuff. And
we say all the time, we do the work of 10 people, and we're okay with it. Like, no complaints. It's amazing, but honestly, like, we do the work of 10 people, and a lot of the stuff it's just the way that it is.
Nobody else could do it.
Yeah. There's only, like, as you get into your method, you get into your groove. Like, if I brought someone into my business to help me, it would take me months just to
Train them.
Yes.
Yeah.
because I figured out over like a decade of the best way to do things, and I
Yes.
know for a fact it works.
We're like a well-oiled machine, just
Yeah.
like you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so bringing in another person,
It's almost more
Yeah.
work because we have a few times, if one of us has been sick or something, we've tried to bring somebody in for like the invoicing part where we put up the listings on our website, and it's so much more work.
because they don't know like what those 400 crystals are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's easy for us to just look at it and type it out. She calls it out, I type it out. It's really fast. But for somebody to come in and kind of be like, I don't know what it is or how to do it, it's just, it doesn't really work.
You'd have to like pull in another person that's already like had a similar business experience just for it to make sense.
Totally, yeah.
And find that person, good luck.
Yeah.
So that's, but then, hey, maybe your kids as they get older, they have
hoping.
more interest in it.
We're hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said they help you already, but
Sometimes they do, yeah. But
You
they
know,
definitely like
there's a
want to do
thing.
their own thing.
There's a thing with not really wanting to do what your parents are doing.
of course,
too,
yeah. Like that was kind of like my experience of like my dad was a blue collar, managed a warehouse for shipping and receiving for a small fastener company, like screws and nuts and bolts, specialty stuff for like random furniture companies or whatever. He just ran their warehouse and was like hourly employee. He kept the job to keep benefits so that he could keep us alive, essentially. And he did carpentry on the side. Like that was always his side thing. Like he took wood shop in high school and loved it. He didn't want to be a farmer like his family, so he went out and got a public job. He managed a J.C. Penney's shipping and receiving warehouse till they left Atlanta, and then he ended up doing what he did for most of my childhood, just doing the warehouse thing. And every weekend it was like he would go down to his tiny little wood shop, make like custom furniture for people, and it would take him weeks because he could only work on like Saturdays, because he would come home from work dead tired, go to the shop all day Saturday, and then Sunday we went to church, and he needed a day to just not do physical labor.
Yeah.
And so he would always come in at like after it got dark on Saturdays, and he'd be covered in sawdust and he'd smell like pine and oak, and it would just my entire childhood I was like, I hate the noise, I hate the smell. Like he comes in covered in this stuff every day.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that. And then I went to college and ended up in I was a server at a restaurant in college, and then I worked at a country club for years, and then I ended up rolling right back into the same thing that he's doing because I lost that job, the one that I had for so long, and then that was my full-time thing, and then I started working with him, and it's just like that was something that I'm happy that he was able to pass down. And luckily I matured enough to realize like, okay,
this is like a cool skill to learn, right? Yeah.
Like this is beneficial. This is something cool. So I would always hope that like if the parents are passionate about something, that the kids have the opportunity to jump into it if they want to. But if they don't, then that's fine.
That's
too.
how we are.
That's
yeah.
how we feel for
we don't
sure.
want to force them into something they don't want to do. But if they show interest, amazing, because we would love to be able to.
I mean,
have
we
them
joke
included.
with them all the time, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys don't want to be part of this."
Like, how do you not want to do this with us?
You know?
This is your inheritance.
Right. Don't you understand?
Yeah. You never know. We'll see where it all winds up.
But if they did, you'd probably be thrilled.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
Because this is what I find is so impressive, because I don't know the scale of it, because I don't have the attention span. Sometimes I'll pop into your live stuff and say something, and I try not to, because I know people know who I am, and then
They're like,
it redirects the attention where it doesn't need to be. So I try not to, because I don't want to be like, oh my God, Drew's in here. I'm like, no, I don't want that.
yeah.
And I don't want to go on one of my random accounts and jump in there too, because I don't want to slip up and then someone I have like an account that no one knows.
Well, everybody has one of those.
Everybody does.
Everybody's got one that they just lurk a little bit just because you don't.
Isn't
want
it
the
called
attention.
like your Finsta?
Your
or
Finsta?
something?
Yeah. So I have one of those, but. I try to stay out of yours just because I don't want the attention taken away from what you're doing.
Well, just so you know, I don't mind at all. I mean, I speak for myself just because I'm usually the one talking. I'm pretty good at keeping it rolling when people come in, because we have lots of visitors come in. Like we had Beth Ann Pink Heart Healing come in.
She pops in sometimes.
Sometimes she pops in. We've got other crystal shops that pop in, and
It's actually kind of nice. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind, if you want to say hi, go for it.
yeah,
because
go for it.
a lot of times we need to break up
Okay.
the monotony. It gets a little bit,
We're pretty conversational. I mean, we talk a lot, but there's a good balance again of talking about the crystals, where they're from, their properties. But I also don't want to be boring, so we joke a lot. We talk about other things. We have conversations with the people that are in there.
I think a big part of our business is the community anyway. So
Yeah.
the bottom line is we're selling crystals and people are purchasing things from us, but there's a huge portion of that that's just fellowship, community, and we love to nurture that. And
We have
so
a super solid
Oh, yeah.
group of people who show up every Sunday, and they're with us for like 9 hours.
See, that's where I was getting.
Yeah.
Your lives are something that I can't fathom. You do like a all day marathon.
marathon for sure.
I can't do that. My brain would melt.
It's I feel pretty much, and I know you do too, like fried by the end. Like my brain is just like woof, and I start. There's points in there where I might trip up over a few words or something, just because it's like so much talking for so long and so
It's
many
hard.
numbers and so
But
many different Instagram names. You got to try to remember who's who, and
is. You have really taught me to focus on that aspect of like the work ethic part of that. Mm-hmm. So it is hard and it is something that we do that's challenging to go that long live. But when you break it down on paper, that's the work aspects. Like we hold ourselves to that standard and that's what we do. And just like any other job, if we were working for someone else, you would clock in and you would clock out at your scheduled time. So we try to hold ourselves to that standard.
we take breaks.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
but we want to be consistent.
Yeah.
We want to be, professional.
We are professional. Whoops, sorry. We are professional as I throw the thing. But then we have a fun side too,
Yeah.
and because who would want to sit and listen to us talk monotonely?
And we get goofy. I mean, we do a little drinking sometimes.
Yeah,
we
I
get a little
like my
bit
champs.
Like,
I like my
crazy tired or
mimosas.
whatever. We get a little goofy. But
Sometimes they'll be like, "Get Noel a mimosa," because they can tell I'm like, "Okay, I'm hurting, guys. Like
Yeah.
I can only pick up so many 8-pound crystals from across the table back and forth so many times before I'm ready for a mimosa."
I always have like a dirty joke, like ready to go.
She does, yeah.
Why does that not surprise me for some reason?
Right?
Yeah.
That older sister
Yeah.
vibe, like she's the one that's going to throw out the
yeah.
controversial joke.
They know
We have a TLC after dark activation happens every
there's
Sunday.
one customer, one really nice, sweet customer of ours who she's like, when it's time, she's like in bold letters, TLC after dark
Yeah.
activated, and then they know it's gonna be.
Usually it's like when Noel's showing like a phallic shaped crystal or something, and
Joy
then
makes
I'm
some
like,
kind of-
what does this look like? And then that's TLC after dark, and then here come all the dirty
That's the
jokes.
transitional moment of
Yes.
everything changes and the kids leave the room. Kind
Yes.
Of thing.
Well, we hope
if
they
you
all
have
do.
if you have children
kids,
watching,
cover their ears.
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
Oh, that's so good. So if so here's one little thing that it's not an annoyance or anything. I'm not saying it's annoyance. I'm just saying that this is how things differ between like two businesses and how things sometimes work, because this has only happened a few times, but I found it so funny because I had to have it explained to me, and I may have actually told you this. I don't know. But when you do your crystal sales, you do open box, like, because they're heavy, right? Don't you do that, or you did at one point?
We can, yeah.
Okay.
We offer it, but only we have to cap it because
Yeah.
we only have so much space. So
Yeah.
we do offer open boxes for sure, but a lot of people just want their stuff right away. So
Right.
we ship about anywhere from, I mean, depending on the size of the sale, like 80 to 130 boxes a week of orders. So but some people will ask to keep it open and build a box, and
Yeah, to a certain point, it makes
Yeah.
sense. So if you're shipping rocks that are heavy, that makes
Right.
perfect sense, and they're not huge. But then, like a couple of times, people have sent me messages or whatever that you just graciously directed to me, and they'll be like, "Oh, I want this shelf, but you don't have this one in stock. Can I do an open box?" And I'm like, "You don't understand the dynamics of how this stuff ships."
Yeah.
Like if it's small stuff, like tiny rocks and stuff, it makes sense to do an open box because you can pack it full of stuff, and as long as it's within reasonable size, that's fine. When you have a wooden shelf, I build my stuff to fit in specific
Right.
boxes.
You have a specific box for it.
Yeah,
Right?
I like when people order more than one at a time. That's great because it's, it's business and it's wonderful. But that it creates more of a challenge for me because then I have to put more than I have to figure out, okay, now I got to get one of these bigger boxes that I have in inventory and figure out how I'm going to put these in one box together because I designed it to go into one because probably 80% of my sales are individual
Right.
things. So it makes sense that way. But it's like, then there, there have been a few that have been upset. Like, why, I don't understand why you can't do custom, like, why can't you do an open box? It's like, yeah, I know you don't understand. And that's like the problem with that.
I think it's really important to have a strong, like, I don't know what
Like
to call
boundaries?
it. Yeah, boundaries with what you are able to do and what you're not. And, you post clearly what your shop
You stick to it.
policies are
Yeah.
and you stick to it. And if they don't understand, then they just don't understand.
Well, and it also the nature of our businesses, how we are mostly selling on social media. Everybody does it a little bit different. So I have to remind myself of that sometimes when we get, a ton of inquiries and they're just like kind of ridiculous things that are like, why are you even bothering me with this? But then I have to remember everybody does it different and they don't know if they're buying from 5 different shops and everybody's rules are different and everybody's open box policy is different. So to keep that in mind is it eases your mind. It's time consuming.
Yeah, well,
right.
and it's very
Responding to
repetitive at
everybody,
times in the live sales, because
It's
you
the
have to
nature of where we're, the platform that we sell on, I think.
definitely.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed you have to wrangle them in a little bit sometimes when I do pop in. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they'll say, like, you'll give the directive of this is how I want this to go. This is how you're going to claim this, and then people jump in and do the exact opposite of what you said not to do.
Because I think people in general don't like to read a lot of stuff anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So you can say like, oh, all our live sale policies are right here. If you don't mind, if you're new, just breeze through it really quick before you start claiming or asking a bunch of. We have a frequently asked questions section in our highlights, but they're not going to read it.
No, they don't, and that's it's just, and that's I think that's just human nature in general. Like you want an answer and you want it to be easier than taking any other step. Like I think a lot of people just have that brain. Like the way I'm wired, I'm very literal and I research and I read everything. And my wife will attest that I have the most dumb, fun facts about stupid, irrelevant crap that you ever heard in your life.
How come that doesn't surprise me?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a struggle for me because I know that not everybody is wired that way and not everybody thinks that way. Like stuff as simple as like like on my site, I don't sell anything that's not already made. Like nothing's made to order. Everything is sitting in inventory. If I don't have it, I won't sell it. I'm not going to oversell anything because it's too risky for me.
Yeah.
So, and I ship out within 24 hours or less. That's my policy. Like I don't want to hold your money any longer than I have to. If you ordered it before like 9:00, I'm probably shipping it that day. Like that's just how it works. Or if you order it overnight, it's going out first thing the next morning. Like it's very, I want it like that. I want it to go that way. And then people will send me a message and be like, you're sold out of this, particular thing. When are you going to have more? And I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I don't schedule.
I've seen you
We
post
get
that
that a
many
lot,
times.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You know?
you don't know, like if you're depending, if you're making something or if you're depending on someone else to have that in stock so you can purchase it from them so that you can acquire it. It's kind of the same thing.
Or sometimes you don't know like what's going to be the big hit that week. Like sometimes it's like we didn't know our amethyst lamps were going to go wild and like
right, yeah.
we got to restock them.
And people don't like to take the steps, like because if anything sells out on my site, I have it written into the code.
Right.
The restock notification at the first thing you see at the top of the page is put your email address here, and we'll send you an email as soon as I make another one of these. And I do it every single time. Like I am adamant about that. As soon as that piece goes back in the shop and then I restock it, I send those emails out immediately to get the first shot.
You know what's interesting about crystals? They're one of a kind usually.
Exactly.
So we have lots of inquiries of people would have seen a picture that's
They'll
on
go
our
way
page,
back on our feed like years.
or
And
a
be
live
like, is this
sale,
available?
and they'll be like, I don't see this on your website to buy. And we're like, that is a one of a kind that we sold like a year ago at a live sale. It was never on a website.
Right. And it's not none of this is like customer complaint or anything.
No,
it's just
no.
it's just
It just comes along with the territory.
Yeah, it's just understanding how different people process things and getting someone to even take the step of like, because I'll go as far as like, I want a cat and a moon shell if you don't have any. Okay, here's a link. Like you'll literally see it at the very top, and I will screenshot it and I will circle the thing in red and I'll send it to them. I make it as easy as possible. All you gotta do is tap this link, type your email address. You don't have to make an account. You don't have to do anything else. That's all I need. I just need your email address. That's it.
Right.
And they don't do it.
Yeah.
90% of the time, they don't do it.
And again, it's just like what we were saying earlier. It's about finding a balance between continuing to hold on to your craft and your personal connection with your work and what you're doing because it's your business.
Yes.
And also giving the people what they want because the bottom line is we're selling things and this is our living. So Noel and I constantly have lists. I mean, from anywhere from people that don't even follow us, sending messages about what they want to buy to good customers that are commissioning us to buy $10,000 spheres for them. We're constantly writing down things and sometimes it cracks us up because we'll have a live sale, like she said, with 400 pieces. And then the following week we get a bunch of requests and it'll be
all the same stuff we just
had on the live sale. And it's like, but we just sold all that, like we'll be like, what are your requests for next week? And it's all the stuff we just sold. So it's just finding a balance.
Right. Because you never know. Like that's the thing. You can pull in all this product that you want to and be like, okay, it's gonna go, and then it just doesn't because they've already seen it. But and people will say that they want certain things that they don't. Like my fairy shelves are a really good example. I made a ton of the fairy shelves in 2022 in like 4 different designs, and everybody loved them, and they blew out, and I sold them all out the first time. I made a second round the same quantity 2 weeks later, and nobody bought them.
Yeah.
So
That's what happened with our butterflies.
Yeah, that's
the first time we sold amethyst butterflies. They were beautiful Uruguayan amethyst carvings. I mean, it was crazy.
We actually had people upset.
We had
very
like fights
upset
in
that
our
they
live
couldn't
sale.
get one. Wow. So we ordered a whole.
We ordered a
batch, had
ton
them made for us.
We sold out again. We ordered a third time, and then it
Nothing.
was like crickets.
Yeah.
And we had like a couple of them in stock on our website for like a year, and I think we finally just sold the last one. And I was like, well, we're never buying those again.
We're never getting those.
Some of my fairies stuck around for a year, like
Yeah.
that, and then that's the thing. Like as soon as that last one finally trickled out of there,
You were like, no more fairies.
I was done with it. But then I
Good, I'm
kept,
glad I got them all.
yeah, but yeah, you got them all. But then at that point, that's when I started getting the emails of,
Well, you know what's
are
funny?
you gonna make another one?
You know what's funny, Drew, is that sometimes, because our background of our live sale is your shelves, right?
Yeah.
Our crystals and your shelves. The main one is the butterfly in the center,
It's
but
the
then
butterfly, the heart, and the
apothecary.
Art.
Yes.
The apothecary, yes.
And then, but our other wall. So if we pan over to our
Are the
right side
fairies.
are the fairies, and there are some times where people are like, "Oh my God, where'd you get that fairy shelf?" And I'm thinking, "Oh crap, I don't want
I know. The one wall in our shop is the fairies, and then the opposite wall, which doesn't get shown a lot, is the big fairy one with the 2 little fairies on the side. It's like crescent moons.
Yeah.
That's up on our other side too.
Yeah, but I do have that thought. If we pan over there, I think, ooh, like
Are they gonna request
they're gonna
the fairies?
start bugging Drew for the fairies
I
again.
brought back one fairy that comes back normally. It's the kneeling one that's holding.
Yeah.
That's the only one I do in regularity. So if that one's floating around, feel free to show
Yeah.
that one. But,
Well, I'm sure you see the tags
yeah.
each week. It's like
I see the
at
tags.
Danger Silver's, at Danger Silver.
but now I know I'm okay to stop in.
Oh,
because-
absolutely, yeah. It doesn't trip me up at all. Like at this
would love
point,
to say
it's
hi.
like I'm in like autopilot mode sometimes with our live sales. Like
Well,
I'm
and it's
used
kinda
to.
nice to
Yeah, it's
break
nice
it
to
up
say hi.
with interacting with people that pop on and talking about stuff other than the crystal.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, I think so. We've almost cleared an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
We
Went
could
by
talk
fast.
forever.
I know. So we're gonna do it again. So don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We're coming up right on our hour right now. Okay, believe it or not, it does not feel like that.
No, it doesn't. That went fast.
But that just means that we have to do another one. So
We're
down.
in.
Anytime you want.
okay. Well.
We'll tell you like goofy stories about Joy at EDC with her fanny pack and
Oh yes.
passing out free crystals to people and
All right. That's where we're going next time,
yeah.
guys.
We'll go to the TLC After Dark in the next version.
All
Activated.
right, you heard it, so that's what we're doing. But anyway, thanks so much for being here and for talking to me for an hour.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Appreciate you. So anyway, I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I guess I'm saying goodbye, and you are saying goodbye too.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.